Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Joshua Shantz here. I don't know if you can really see my laptop screen. I don't even know how to full screen it so I can just tap it because I'm archaic like that. Today we're talking about existentialism and humanism, which basically, in my own terms, means that we are free to do whatever we want individually. Obviously, there's rules and laws in society, but overall, you choose your own path. You get from the time you're born to the time you pass away, and in that time, you decide what you're going to be. And existentialism basically says is that there's no other outside being, it's just you. Whatever's in here, you have that choice. You can decide today what you want to be. And today we're going to be going over the terms, and I'm going to try my best to explain them, but I'll be honest, I don't know how it's going to go, but we'll see. First one is going to be existence. To exist is to live, to be, to breathe, to touch, to see. I exist, you exist. I use my sleeping dog here as my picture. He exists, he sees, he gets to live. Obviously, I don't believe that my PlayStation can exist, like that desk can't exist, a bed can't exist. It's just an object. But to exist is to be alive, to be a human, to be an animal, to be someone with a pulse, a heartbeat. Maybe even flowers can be existing because they're alive too. The second term is going to be essence. Now, for my picture, I used a trash bin, but essence is basically the meaning of something, the meat and potatoes of something. Whenever you look at a book, what's inside the book. That's the essence. There's a book as a cover and a back, but within the book there is meaning to it that we give it. Now, the reason I chose a trash can to explain essence is because when you go to Big Lots, and where I bought it, it's labeled as a trash can, but I don't use it as a trash can. To me, I decided to use it as a clothes bin because my clothes smell, and everyone's talks crap about it at my house. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take this trash bin, and I'm gonna make it into a clothes bin. And I gave it new meaning. Now it's no longer a trash bin. Now it's a clothes bin, and yet I'm the only one who gives it the meaning. And we all kind of gave it the meaning of a trash bin, but if we were to pass away, it's just a random object. We take things and morph them into, our purposes. The next term is human nature, which human nature is kind of a broad statement, but it's also, it just defines who we are, like our personality, like what we're going to do, our actions. I used a picture of a porch because while that's not human nature, my dad, he's lived in this house for 20 some odd years, and for many years it just kind of was what it was. Like, we were growing up and it was what it was. Like, it was kind of basic, but over the course of his lifetime, he's just had this hunger to build it out and make it something more, and kind of make it his own, make it something that he enjoyed and his vision. And it was in his human nature to grow that and to see that through. And he eventually, got what he wanted. He always wanted a porch all grown up, and two years ago he decided to finally have that done. He had concrete laid and a porch laid, and I was very proud and happy of him to do that. And I'm still deciding my human nature, I guess. It's also kind of broad though, because obviously each individual's different. You can't really define whole society under a couple of terms, because each and every single person is just so intricate with their personality and their choices, and how they decide to interact with others. Some people get mad, some people are more peaceful, some people are quiet and don't really say anything or reserved. That's why it's kind of like an iffy term in existentialism. Next one we're talking about is man is freedom, which to me, I just put a picture of my street. Obviously, right now we're not exactly free, but basically what that means is that your life is in your own hands. You get to make your own choices. If you wanted to be, if you wanted to try and be a singer of a rock band, no one's telling you can't do that. The only person that says that you can't do that is you. No one places any kind of consequences on you but yourself. There's only restrictions are only within you. I'm sorry, I got a little distracted. Someone's out there opening the door, and I was kind of was hearing to see what they were saying. Humans have greater dignity than a stone or a table. Humans are very prideful. We have a lot of ego. As we build things, we build the counters, we build the houses, we build society, we make music, we make movies. We're very, very prideful of what we do. But yet, you know, a table or a stone is just an inanimate object. It can't have that. That was pretty simple. Being responsible for all human beings. We're all responsible for our own actions, you know. I can choose to say something mean to somebody else whenever they cut me down, and I can choose to hurt their feelings, but I'm responsible for that feeling, that gut feeling, if I decide to hurt somebody else with my words. Yeah, I chose a picture of my little brother. He actually won, apparently, best all-around boy in class. And the reason I chose that is because I was also kind of taking it in the concept that my father and his mother are responsible for him right now, with him being 13 years old. They make sure he gets up and goes to school and does what he has to do and gets his homework done. And that's kind of how he got to be the best boy and whatever other awards he won particularly. Ooh, next turn. I suck with a computer. Anguish is known by leaders. I thought this one was interesting in the reading. I didn't really think about it too much, but it really is kind of crazy to think that if you're the president or a general of an army or any kind of leader anywhere, even at work, if you're a manager, you're creating schedules. You are responsible for everyone else. So if right now, with what's going on with coronavirus, whoever's making the decisions, you know, the group of people, the collective of the government, right now they're deciding what's the best. You know, I heard that recently we'll actually have to start wearing masks here in Osceola. And those are the decisions that, you know, are placed on one or two or however many people's shoulders in the government. It's very small compared to the overall population, right? There's 300 million people in the United States, and you've got a government made up of X amount of people that is like hardly anything close to the overall population, and yet they decide, you know, how to go about this. Stay home, close the restaurants, close bars, only go out with masks and gloves on, and that affects everybody. And, you know, one wrong decision, maybe not to do something different, or if you are a general and you decide to go to war, you know soldiers are going to die, and there's people that signed up, and now all of a sudden, if you're sending them to war, you're not going to necessarily be there, but yet you're going to feel that pain, that hardship within you to make that choice, because someone has to make that choice, and there's a job to make that choice, and you have to do something. You know, you have to in life. No matter what, life's going to come at you, and you're going to have to choose a decision, and you're going to have to live with that decision, and, you know, you're going to have to make with it what you will. The next term is, why is it distressing that God does not exist? I did not really have anything around my house, so I just chose the video game God of War. I would say that it'd be distressing that God doesn't exist, because as it said in the reading, you can't, I wouldn't necessarily say this is what religion's for, but it was saying that you can't place blame upon someone else or seek forgiveness whenever you do something maybe not right or wrong. I mean, you don't really know, but it's just kind of more of like a lonely feeling, like when you're going about without something there to talk to. You know, many people like to sit and they pray, and it's like he's there with them. But if you were to follow existentialism, you want to believe in that, and therefore it's like mentally you're alone. I hope I'm making sense here. I probably sound like a crazy person, everyone out there, in here talking to myself. Talking about existentialism and humanism in my room. But yeah, it's kind of scary, because there's no one to guide you. I know that I've worked with many of people that they've asked him they've asked God what decision they should make, and I'm not particularly a believer myself, but that helps them make a decision, because it's like it's not all on their shoulders. They got someone else there, you know. And it's kind of like, you know, in a way, like at my work, this isn't, I don't know if this is related, but my dad has a manager, and my dad has plenty of experience in his job, and he could be a manager, he just chooses not to be. And his manager is much younger than him and has less experience, so whenever he has a problem on how to do something, he goes to my dad. And my dad says, well, this is what I would do if I were in your position. And whether it works or not is a story for another time. But without my dad there, the manager would be, he wouldn't be so lost, but he would definitely be calling my dad a lot more, or be a lot more stressed if he wasn't there. And I would feel like that would be the same sense of urgency if you decided that you wanted to follow existentialism. And the next slide is, man is condemned to be free. This is something that I find interesting because I think about it a lot myself, and that's, time is always going to move forward, always. Like, you can't stop it. Tomorrow's going to come, and the day after, and the day after, it's always come, because we're here today, so that means that everyone else that's ever lived, they've had to face, they've had to face their own humanity, their own life, their own choices, and I often wonder that about myself, where am I going to be at in 10, 15, 20 years? I have no idea, honestly, but I'm pretty sure that no adult that's older than any of us really knew how they're going to get there. You just live by the moment, you make the decisions, and you can't avoid it. You have to make those choices. You have a freedom, but you're also, it's kind of like a curse, because while you may want to be a kid forever and not have responsibilities, at some point you're going to be a 30-year-old, like, you're going to be in your 30s, and it's going to be time to grow up and start going to work, paying bills. You can't avoid that. And you have to just start thinking independently and making your own decisions. And the last slide is, man is nothing else than his plan. And I used a picture of my microphone, because while I necessarily don't have a plan myself, I would like to think that I could make something of it. And if I decided to go all out and record music, be a rapper, then all of a sudden I gave myself meaning. I'm a rapper, Just as if someone decided to be a waiter or a waitress, then to be a waiter or waitress, it's just a term. There's not necessarily any meaning. We give that term its meaning. And really, I think what else that term is trying to state is that, like, whenever you decide what you're going to do, that is all you are. So you're nothing. You have to decide at some point. Life's going to come at you, and you're going to go to college, and you're going to get a degree, and what you get a degree and what you use that degree for, it's all up to you. And that's essentially going to make who you are. Such as my grandfather, who is a truck driver, while he did many things, I'm sure, in his life, overall I know him to be as my grandpa, the former retired truck driver. And that's kind of his meaning. That was like his purpose in a way. That's his title that he bestowed upon himself. And he decided that through his own life choices, through his actions, just as my grandma decided that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and raise kids, and that is perfectly fine too, and she decided that for herself. And therefore, it was her plan, and that's what she decided to be, and that's what she is. I hope I wasn't too confusing. I hope I didn't ramble off too far. It's kind of a long video, but I hope everybody has a safe night and a good one as well. Signing off. Boop.